Hello guys, this is Craig speaking, and today I'm here to do a look back on my very first Project Jeopardy video. And wouldn't you even believe it, this was my very first Project Jeopardy video that has been uploaded like 10 years ago. And it has been uploaded back on August 6th, 2008. So yeah, wouldn't you believe it? I couldn't even believe like I made this video just for the fact that I were to make this for my own amusement, and the fact that I was a fan of game shows. And, you know, the whole result of it was pretty much horrendous. Yeah, I mean, as you can hear, like, for the way I first spoke in front of the camera, yeah, you could tell I was very, very shy at, you know, camera speaking. You know, the way I were to speak in front of the camera while I was reading the lines. So, this was actually my first time that I were to impersonate Alex Trebek in my own voice with the lines I wrote, like, at the last minute. And, you know, you could tell that this wasn't really professionally recorded when I first starting producing my videos, like, in my very first year on YouTube. So yeah, I guess just looking at it now, you know, the clues that I have written down are pretty much fabricated between, like, me using jarchive.com, you know, as part of research, and some of the ones that I've written down are, like, you know, my very own clues, like 70s actors and crossword clues T, and parts of biology, and well, I guess some of the others that I have I wrote for Double Jeopardy. But I guess we'll just start with my first time you know, looking at this.
Let's try the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, as you can tell, I mispronounced, like, most of the words, like, from certain written clues that were used, like, in the past shows, like, from the early 90s. And yes, I will admit, I just copied all these written clues from JArchive when I started making this. But, you know, that was, like, around the time when I was a sophomore in high school, and I didn't even know better about, like, you know, providing my own material, and just by doing enough research just to, like, you know, write my own forms of written essays and all that sort of stuff, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, with that in mind, I guess the reason I made my very first Project Jeopardy video was actually my very first attempt just to create something that's, like, all part of animation. And yes, this was one of my earliest attempts of creating, like, some form of animation from my very own skills. I mean, this was actually done in Microsoft Paint and Windows Movie Maker. And for the looks of it, I felt that the effects could have been done better if I were to have the time to make this, but due to the fact that I had a bit of a crunch time between my last month of summer vacation and my first day of junior year, you know, this was actually been made, like, for a whole month. And if you were to count, like, you know, the amount of videos that I have done, you know, this was actually really rushed when I made this video. And this was actually made between August 2nd through September 4th, if I were to recall correctly, because I have saved my archived video footage from, like, 2008, and this was all shot in my very first camcorder when I had this when I was really, really young. And I had this, like, certain dream and passion of creating movies, but I just didn't really have the creativity to do that as well as other people. And as far as like these YouTubers on the podiums there, they were like my friends like from the past, and I'm still friends with some of them to this day. And the first one being is Ray the Chameleon, also known as Silent Chameleon 1. She and I have been friends like since 2007 through 2011. She's from the UK, and she has like done some fan dubs for other shows, and she's been also friends with other people that I have worked with fan dubs before, and you know, I asked if she would be interested in being part of Jeopardy. You know, she was really excited about it, and she did a good job on providing the voices for that. And this is pretty much why I also got her into doing like some other roles in my other videos, like that one Tugs redub from 2009, and the UK version of Project Jeopardy from 2014. So yeah, she was a lot of fun to work with, and she's a really good friend to me as well. And the person in the middle here is Junior Fan 89, also, well, now known as Junior Fan the Enlightenment. And he's the guy that has done rants and commentaries like way before I started being on YouTube. And you know, he's got a lot of great stuff, like when it comes to like talking about like controversial topics, as well as his video game reviews. And he's still a really cool guy to you know, to talk to and to relate to. And you know, basically right now he's pretty much just focusing on life outside of YouTube, and he does come back online once in a while. So yeah, at least I got to hear from him like on one of my messenger chat rooms, and he does come by like once in a while. And of course, the person on the left here is Dan the Diesel, aka Dan the Countdowner. And like Ray the Chameleon, he's from the UK, and he has been known for creating his own version of Jeopardy, in which he has gotten the inspiration to make this kind of video like I did, only with different characters as contestants. And he wasn't really the only the one that made this. Pretty much another person I've known, Chris, I forgot what his username is, but he was formerly known as Mario Sarasco, but you know, he also made his own Jeopardy series, just like the way I did it. But again, you know, the way he did it was in his International Tournament of Champions, but with Sonic characters. So Dan and I are still friends to this day, and I'm still able to stay in touch with him on Facebook, and he's been sharing his own drawings of other game shows that he has been really interested in, along with his other stuff that he likes to draw. Like if I were to recall, he has done like a couple of his own videos on the UK version of Blockbusters, and another one of the game shows that he did was Countdown, in which those are really pretty good to watch.
Well done, Ray. You must have been things that begins with that layer, huh? Okay, sorry, now it's so pick a category for me.
Oh my god, did I actually... Oh my god, that was a really bad take I ever did. You know, I just went like, so yeah, well done, Ray. You actually did a lot of job on here. Okay, so fine, I'm just gonna get to draw the board over here. Yeah, I mean, there's just one quick mention I wanted to say, is that, yeah, I did like really terrible takes on my voice recordings, and as you can tell, you know, this was also sloppily edited in my part. So this was like at the very beginning of my very own attempts to, like, you know, edit my videos like that. So again, with the stolen written clue I took,
Yes.
Biology for 500.
The Save's egg mice.
Again, it's the mispronunciation. It's called pygmy, damn it.
Smallest animal.
It's a pygmy, not pygmy. God, was I terrible at writing. Mispronouncing.
Can't pick again.
I sounded like I was really, really tired when I, when I recorded these lines. That was really terrible for my part. I should have been, rehearsed and, did some preps before I were to do this sort of stuff. Lesson learned, kids. If you can't pronounce your words correctly while recording your lines, you're going to make yourself look like a dim-witted fool. Just like I did. In my quietly toned voice recorded at my mom's dinner table. Alright, enough with the riffing. Let's just continue on with the commentary. So there's another thing I wanted to talk about is this whole model of the Jeopardy set that I have made, and this was made out of ceramic clay when I was in high school, and I made this just so that I can replicate the 1991-96 Jeopardy grid set, and this was the one that I grew up with back in the day when I started watching the show with my grandparents alongside with Wheel of Fortune. And about several years later, when I got onto YouTube, I discovered a series of videos from a certain guy named Mr. X 1988. He made his own Lego versions of certain game shows, and probably one of which would be his own 1984 version of Jeopardy. I was inspired by his work, and so I would have figured, hey, since he can make his own version with Legos, why not I just do the same but with clay? So this is something I've been doing ever since, and I just wanted to thank him for the inspiration. When you get a chance, you should check out his work. They're really awesome. As you can see, with these figures that I have used for the set, I didn't make those little people right here. They were actually done by a certain company that were to be molded and shaped, and they were to be replicated for those that were to be placed in your own model train sets or replica figures, and they were all in HO scale, and I wanted to match the same exact scale for the Jeopardy set that I created. Yeah, so it looks like we're getting into Double Jeopardy now, and as you can tell, I have also created another Jeopardy grid set from the same era, and probably much more smaller too. It was actually my second attempt to create the set, and I didn't really bother just to repaint the first set that I have made because it was all in gloss, and I didn't really want to ruin that when I made it, because this was my very first attempt to do that, and I just wanted to create another one with the red background. But yeah, with with this part of Double Jeopardy, as you can tell that the way the shots were, the closest between the contestants, I wasn't really able to properly show the characters' faces and the whole backdrop between the set and the players, because this was actually taken from a zoom in effect from Windows Movie Maker, and so I wasn't really able to edit that as well. And this was back when I was really close to heading back to school at the time, and I didn't really have the time to finish it. So this was all really, really rushed. And also with those clues, as you can see with the category on Civil War, this was also copied from one of the Jeopardy pilots from 1983 to 84, and this was from J Archive as well. So yeah, it's a shame I didn't really have a lot of material to provide with, as well as some research. I know I've actually have done better with providing more research and my own written clues from my own clues as of today, and Oh, by the way, yeah, I can't even believe I just said Polish. I meant to say Polish, by the way. God, I'm so terrible at providing certain words. You know, with that, I didn't really have that kind of problem just to figure out what I want to write down. However, if I were to have trouble, like, figuring out what I wanted to write for my future videos, you know, I would just, like, come to Dan and have him, like, come up with some clues for me, and I were to use them for my future videos. So, yeah, as I were to say, you know, Dan has asked me to, if he were to want to be a writer for my episodes, and that's why I would have his credit doing so.
The name of our galaxy, Dan.
What is the Milky Way?
And
You got it.
Universe for 400.
Our atmosphere has 21% oxygen.
I guess just for that one quick moment, what you just saw on one of the
95% gas.
one of the clues on the universe about
Carbon dioxide. Yeah.
one of the planets to have like this kind of percentage of oxygen. This was actually been lifted from one of my assignments for Earth science back when I was a freshman. If I were to remember correctly, I was in Earth science class, and I was really fascinated about the universe and some black holes out in space. I wanted to provide like one of the clues to some answers and questions that I have learned in my own knowledge when I was learning about it in high school. And you know, this was one of those things that I've written down some of the answers that I provided for that category. So that I at least was able to provide what I learned from that time, you know, without taking stuff from J-Archive. So I guess another thing I wanted to mention about the whole animation itself, I had like all these flubs that I ever witnessed when I last made this. I'm probably thinking that this could have been done a whole lot better, mostly in Photoshop and Fire Alpaca, in which, by the way, those are the programs that I use for my videos today, and they actually have helped me like work through my some of my mistakes that I could ever fix just in no time, and the tools that they ever provided are really easy to correct. And so to this case, mostly this was all done with on Microsoft Paint, and there wasn't really a lot to fix. You know, basically this, you know, all I would ever do is just like just go by screenshot and just by look through both of them. That way they can animate correctly. So in which case, I feel that this, you know, the whole animation that I ever done, it wasn't really looking that good to begin with. I just felt that I could have learned how to use Photoshop and Fire Alpaca or something similar to that right at the time of my my first year on YouTube and you know, being in school and stuff. So yeah, I guess this looks like this is the end of Double Jeopardy, and you know, it looks as though I made Junior Fan 89 being in first place. But oh my god, that was really loud. Oh, damn, was that really loud? Boy, I should have like lowered that down when I had this edit. Oh man. In case if you guys were wondering where I got that scene where the American Airlines DC-10 flying, that was from the first Home Alone movie. Yeah, just want to say another thing about the music itself is that I felt that I could have toned that down just a tad, and just the way the person that voiced Johnny Gilbert, which apparently he didn't sound much anything like Johnny Gilbert. You know, basically, you know, I could have lowered that down just a tad. And oh, by the way, these Super NES box packages here, these weren't really taken by me, by the way. These were like screenshots from eBay, because they were like third place prizes for those that were to finish in third place. And this one category called 1956. This is one of those categories that I actually wrote myself, not just by memory, but mostly by my own knowledge, because this has got to do with maritime history and disasters at sea. For those that don't know, I have a personal interest of ships that are lost at sea, including the Titanic and Edmund Fitzgerald, including the one that you're about to see is one of the main reasons that I got into it. So this one ship, if you were to guess this one is probably one of the longest tragedies that ever to occur on that year. And basically it sank like for 10 hours after it was collided like in like off the coast of Nantucket Island in the Atlantic. And I read about this one article saying that there are scuba divers that go down to the shipwreck. They actually died from from exploring a ship, like by scuba diving, because it was considered to be the Mount Everest of explorations under the ocean. And for those that don't even know it, what is the Andrea Doria? So yeah, it looks as though I was able to summarize it much better than I did back in the day. What you were hearing, like, from the original video, I was stuttering my lines when I was trying to, like, say stuff in my own head instead of, like, using the script. And I guess what you're about to see is probably like one of the most ridiculous moments that I came up with. Yeah, the SS Alex Trebek. Oh my god, I actually didn't really think it was going to be that intentionally funny, but I probably wasn't thinking it was that intentionally funny, so that was actually pretty bad for my part. This was the kind of a written answer that I came up with at the top of my head, so kill me. Just wanted to wrap it up here. At this time, what I just mentioned about the YouTuber who voiced Johnny Gilbert was Miss Oliver Blossom, now known as the Wildinator. He's the guy that made his own Thomas the Tank Engine model series, known as TNF, and he worked on it like for about 7 to 10 years, and he's the kind of guy who has done a lot of comedy also, and he's also been doing some fan dubs and some music recordings on My Little Pony, on the My Little Pony fan base. So yeah, he's quite of a brony himself, by the way. And he was even also in conventions dedicating to the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And as far as I can remember, after I offered him the role for being Johnny Gilbert on my Project Jeopardy series, he said that he wasn't really familiar with the show itself. I mean, he's probably more familiar with the Saturday Night Live sketches with Will Ferrell and the guy who played Sean Connery, in which he thought it was hilarious, and he didn't really mind, being part of 2 Project Jeopardy videos that he's been on so far. So it was great working with him. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this particular video and for this particular look back video. And I guess my overall impression for my very first Project Jeopardy pilot video, it was horrendous for my own taste, because the animation looked rushed, the voice acting like could have been better, and the writing was fabricated. Looking back at this Project Jeopardy video that I've done, I'm just gonna say this right now, that the whole thing is just garbage. I'm glad that I managed to take the time to to make countless improvements over this one. This is pretty much just why I excluded this pilot over my actual series, in which the next one right after that has gotten a little better over this one. if you joined my first commentary, and if you wanted to see me do more of that, let me know what you want me to talk about and what to commentate on, and I'll take it into consideration. And all I can say is happy 10 years to Project Jeopardy, and hope I'll expect to do some more of that sometime soon. So with that said, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care.